Hello, folks. How you doing?
Hey, everybody. It's that time again to talk about these people. And there's a lot to talk about, isn't there, Gregory?
Not this guy, though. Not necessarily Batman. But yes, there is. There's quite a bit to talk about. My
interesting things that we kind of mentioned, we kind of touched on last week.
Yeah.
And now they're all, it's weird how it all kind of came to fruition literally within days after we said it. So
my
personally, I think we did it.
Yeah, my assessment of the week was vastly wrong. Personally, I figured, hey, you know what? We're gonna go 6-1. We are recording.
I wasn't thinking 6-1, but I wasn't thinking to split with Baltimore. I'll tell you that much.
I was gonna say we are recording this before the 7th game, which is against the Yankees. So I mean, we can still get another win. But man, this was pretty rough this week, though.
Yeah, I mean, Kikuchi is definitely worrying people. He's worrying me. Like, I'm not the biggest worrier in the world about this stuff.
No.
But I'm starting to, like, I know he's working through a new way of, a new pitching style, a new spot on the rubber, a new way of attacking hitters, all that kind of stuff. But when I watch him throw, it seems like his delivery is just all over the place right now. Like, I know he's got that weird little leg kicky thing that he does before he throws, but every time I notice it, because I don't always notice it, but when I do notice it, he tends to throw the ball low all the time.
I am impressed with the fact that he's not set in his ways. Like, if stuff's not working, he's making adjustments. He's trying to sort of solve the problem, as opposed to, like, there's going to be some people like, no, I've been doing this for forever. I'm not going to change this. Like, he is actually working on mechanics. He's not working on the basis of pitching, but he's actually working on shortening his stride. He's got a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. He's shortening his stride. As you said, he's standing on a different part of the rubber just to sort of.
Well, I'm also glad he stopped doing those. He also always had different ways of delivering too. He tried to do that, like. Kind of deke you out. Oh, I'm going to pause for just an extra second and throw the ball. Like, I'm glad he's just kind of focusing on one thing, and I think he'll be fine. But again, that's like with everything.
That's the thing is, like, work on what gets you to the show, and then if you've started to lose it, get yourself back on that plane again, and then you can start working on the little intricacies of this kind of stuff as well. So.
I'd also like to say on this part that because I'm going to make this a weekly thing. I'm going to start pissing all over pissy Blue Jay fans. Okay. There are certain things you need to know.
Remind me next week to make a bumper for this. I mean, pissy Blue Jay fans. Okay, we're good for that. Yeah.
Now, here's my thing. If you don't understand how contracts work, how going to the minors works, how things like that operate in baseball, you shouldn't be allowed to say stuff. Because if I hear one more person say, well, they should just send him down to the minors so he can work it out. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't surprise me, because I say this every week, and there's always somebody in one of these groups who are saying something stupid like that. Here's the way it goes, so those of you who are listening can understand. Usually when a person signs a 3-year Major League contract for $36 million, there's a caveat in there saying, I ain't going to the minors. It's a one-way contract. Now, you can have 2-way contracts, but those are usually reserved for people coming back from major injury, possibly, or seriously underperforming for a couple years. Like the contract we signed Dexter Fowler to when he was with us was a 2-way contract, knowing he would be in the minors, but he also had the option that if we didn't call him up by a certain date that he would be a free agent.
He could bust out. Yeah. And
so it's like any minor league player, it's basically a minor league contract. that you will make X amount of dollars in the minors, you will make X amount of dollars in the majors. The difference in dollar value being that you're not a rookie, you're maybe like a 34-year-old outfielder or something like that. So
Mhm.
you'll probably make, instead of the 750 or whatever it is for the minimum, they'll make like 5 million
Yeah.
or something. That's the difference.
I
And
see that.
anybody who thinks you can just send anybody down just until they feel better and their eyes don't look like they're hurting so much, which somebody actually said in one of my groups, his eyes look sad. His eyes look sad. Yeah, he lost.
See, Jeff and I don't have
Feel
don't
it.
have a guaranteed contract like this, so we
No.
have the possibility of getting sent down from a podcast to just bitching on the street corner with a
We will if I swear. I found that out.
with a bottle of Colt 45 or old gold wrapped up in a brown paper bag, but that is just us.
Well, apparently that if we want to push forward and be able to become people that are able to go talk to some of these players, we have to keep our show clean. Because last week during our first show, I swore like a sailor.
Oh,
Because I
I
usually
did
do.
too. Yeah.
It's not easy to not, but we're going to not because we are destined to go on that field to ask the players questions that you want us to ask them and stuff that we want to ask them too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this week we, like you said, we were 2-2 against Baltimore, which was kind of sad.
But
What do you think is up with Gosman?
I don't know, but you mentioned it before. Like it's the same thing. Like Baltimore is a professional baseball team. You can't just see them as a joke, right? Like you do have to play. And I have a feeling the Wednesday game, the Thursday game, essentially was the getaway game, and they literally just the Jays went in thinking, okay, don't worry, it's an afternoon game, we got this, and literally didn't take them seriously. Game two. Okay, that was a one-run game. That's fine. I've got no problem with that. You were in that game. You just didn't do it. We actually even had the benefit, like, and you'll never hear this from me because I'm never the friend of the umpires, but we actually did get a ton of calls going our way. Like I actually saw just the agony on some Baltimore pitchers' faces. So
But
we
it
had
evens out because if you saw the
yeah
game today,
we
that
had help.
definitely evened
But
out.
that's the thing, right? You're essentially now looking at the marketing value of a team. You've got the Baltimore Orioles and the Jays. The Jays have a little more value, and then you've got the Jays and the Yankees, right? So you got to appease the big dog at that point in time. So we did get the calls going our way, but we just game two we couldn't do it. We had our stuff on in game 1 and 3, and then I think it was a getaway game syndrome. Game four, they were
Part
just
of it.
like, "Yep, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's look forward to the Yankees." And then all of a sudden, holy crap, we're losing 10-3. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that's starting to worry me a little bit now, and it wasn't before, is Gosman,
Mm-hmm.
because the first 5 or 6 games, I think his ERA was like 2.20.
Mm-hmm.
His splitter was the number one pitch that was being swung on and missed. But in his last like 6 or 7 starts, his ERA is closer to 4, 5, and I don't know whether he's tipping. That's part of what people are trying to figure out. Whether he was trying to figure out whether he was tipping his pitches against Minnesota, I think it was, and the next game, I think it was Detroit. He did really well. Comes back against Baltimore, and again, it's like whether they figured out how he's going to pitch everybody, what his sequencing is going to be. They did just what the other ones did. They laid off that splitter, and I can't
Well,
figure it out. Like the first couple innings was fine, but then they
that's the
didn't take
trick.
it off.
That's
But
the
that's the
trick,
thing.
right?
It worked for 3 years. Why is it now not working?
No, but
So
that's the thing is you're gonna see as much game footage as possible, and you're gonna be able to study a pitcher as much as possible. That's what you were mentioning before about Kikuchi trying to do those little sort of fake outs just to sort of prevent people from knowing what pitch is coming, but then it also will affect the power of the pitch, right? Whereas this, I think he's just sort of it's something that people have probably picked up on.
I think it's
I
more that
I don't know.
he needs to start using his slider more.
Yeah.
Like he's got a slider, he's got a changeup, and he does use them once in a while.
Well, this is also another thing too. Like out of all the catch, like okay, so we're going to mention some catchers. We've got a bevy of amazing catchers, but are
Yeah.
essentially like our quote unquote veteran catcher Jansen. He's out, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't him playing this week, and you figured, okay, this is a guy that he's doing well with. Like Dickey could only use Josh Tolley. That
Yeah.
don't even get
Yeah.
me started on
The
that.
only person that could use Josh Tolley for Josh Tolley's entire career, pretty much.
Josh Tolley owes
No
Dickey
offense,
a few
Josh.
million.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
he owes him a few million. But that could be it. That it could just be something as hopefully it's something as simple as that. Like, all right, I'm learning a new catcher. And it's not even learning
Well,
a new catcher,
see,
but it's the
I don't
catcher.
think
It's the
that's as
catcher
much of a
calling the
thing.
game. I don't know because I think a catcher can dominate the game if they call it right. Like if they call
Well, he
properly.
had Moreno catching for him, right?
Yeah, so
And
that
he
that
was
one
even
that
from
one
Baltimore.
you definitely all right. I'm the
But
big league
Gosman's
pitcher.
been
You're
around long
listening to
enough.
me. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
been around long enough that he can call the pitches himself if he has to.
yeah.
Or even the dugout can do it. Like the catcher, ultimately, Jansen will be given the ability to make those calls, but
Mhm.
I don't think Moreno and Kirk have as much of a leeway as that,
Well,
right?
that's what I
So
feel like.
Kirk a little bit more. Moreno, they're just being told what to do,
Yeah,
right?
but
So
this could
I
have
don't
been
think
this could have been
that's it.
like a two pronged thing. Whereas you have a pitcher been in the league for a while, a catcher been in the league for a while. Both of them have an agreed upon like, oh well, I feel this is going to happen. But then you just get someone that's just going to say like, okay, here's how it's going to be. You know what? I'm going to show this guy up. I'm going to light him up. And
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I hope it's just something as simple as that. And if
I
it
don't.
is, then
I
it's
don't think
cool.
it's. I don't think it's the catching thing because players these days end up catching everybody. Like the
Totally.
catches everybody anyway.
Mhm.
So I think there are obviously like Manoah loves pitching to Kirk. Obviously they have a rapport. There are rapports out there,
Yeah.
but I mean he's regressing a little bit and it takes him out of that elite spot. Like I look at somebody like Justin Verlander who got Tommy John surgery. He comes
Mhm.
back at 38 years old and he's the best pitcher in the American League again. He's not any different. He's still Justin Verlander. You still know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
You still can't hit him. So I think what Gosman has to do is now that people are laying off that splitter, he's got to start placing that change up to righties a little bit more. He's got to start playing the slider to lefties a little bit more. He's got to start getting guys to chase more.
Yeah.
Like I think he was trying to be too fine because the first two innings of that Baltimore game he was great,
Yeah.
and then he just crapped the bed.
But
So I'm
that's
not overtly worried, but it is something to look at.
it is also like comparing Kevin Gossman to Justin Verlander. that is
Well,
a
you know what I
little
mean, but my
yeah
point is like
yeah
there's guys out there who like all these good pitch and Gosman is considered elite. He was
yeah
a Cy Young candidate, all that kind of stuff. Some people thought he might even win it this year.
yeah.
He's in the list of the odds to win it.
The
So
year's not
he
over.
might
The
still,
season's not over.
but
Forever the
yeah,
optimist.
exactly. And that's the thing. Like I think he'll come out of it. I just want to see what it is, and I want to see if he figures it out. I think he needs to start adding a third pitch. That's it, or using it more than he does. I don't think he needs to use all four of them. I'd like that. Throw that change up 5%, 6% of the time. You just got to give them a different look once in a while to make them start thinking a little bit about something
Mhm.
different. And when
Well,
you're just sitting on fastball splitter, eventually, yeah, maybe they figure out how you're going to do it.
that was the Roy Halladay move, right? Roy Halladay, one of the
Yeah.
greatest pitchers of all time. You know what he'd do just for spite, like not even just for spite, just for the spite of it, waste a pitch in the dirt just for the batter to go, oh crap, okay, like didn't expect
Yeah,
that one. And that's what makes you an elite pitcher, right? So yeah,
exactly.
like
As long as and I think he'll adjust.
no,
I'm
I
not.
think so. I think so.
So the other thing is, okay, so Manoah's still Manoah.
Hmm.
He today's game. Oh, I'm sorry, yesterday's game. The Saturday game, the fourth inning was a travesty of umpiring bull. It was absolutely atrocious, and it
Agreed.
led
Yeah.
to the inning being extended and Aaron Hicks of all people getting a bases clearing double, which pretty much sealed the game.
Seal the game. Yeah.
There was the one that got me that Manoah was and then Montoya got thrown out for
Yeah.
was that swing when the guy got hit, and they said he didn't swing the bat, that he was just a hit batter, even though the replays clearly show that he swung the bat.
There was.
It just adds to my list of I had an argument with a guy saying it's that old tradition. Well, we talked about the old tradition of like, well, it's baseball, traditional, that has the human element. You know what? If in 1860, when they were starting to invent this game, if they had a chance to get a computer out there to make things to follow the rules perfectly the way they should be, they would have done it.
Totally.
It's like saying, well, we don't mind some mistakes. We don't mind if it's wrong sometimes. That's just the game. And to me, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Which
In
I find
fairness, they had that problem and they used computers and it worked and it fixed and it's working fine.
which I find amazing because you realize how much money is involved in essentially every single pitch. Like,
Yeah.
and as I've stated just beforehand, the bigger marketing tool might have a little bit more of a leeway on the ump's mind, right? So we got the calls against Baltimore, but obviously the Yankees are getting the calls against us.
Well, now we're getting the whole thing. Yankees, they all want the Yankees to win. The umpires in baseball want the Yankees to win. That's why the Jets were the umpires. Anybody who thinks umpires are in it for one team or the other, I'd say 98% of the time that's not true.
No,
I do
there's
believe
2% that do have their thing, and we've mentioned their names before. We will not sully our broadcast with such.
What I want people to start doing now is on Twitter, the fantastic Twitter handle of umpire scorecards.
Mm-hmm.
Add that to your Twitter or wherever you want, and you guys should definitely look at it because that'll tell you how good or bad they are. And with that being said, oh my God, Greg, it's almost 15 minutes up. We have
totally
to go
is.
to a commercial. So, we've heard about this place called the Canadian Way, which we have mentioned to you before.
Yes.
A wonderfully Canadian-run, Canadian-owned, Canadian-operated company that is getting off the ground that will focus on eco-friendly textiles
and producing them
created in a way that has zero carbon emissions to help fight the burgeoning fast fashion industry, which accounts for 10% of all emissions into the air that are killing our planet. So if you want to go to the company, I say the Canadian Way.
I agree.
I do like that graphic because it's very Brady Bunch.
Yeah, I know. And plus it's like hypnosis product.
Maybe that's why I feel so spacey.
Oh, you're going to buy the product. The Pentavit.
So the next thing we were going to mention here.
Well, you mentioned that if they could have gone back in the 1800s and fixed the game, they would have. And apparently next year there's going to be a lot of rule changes. Well, not a lot of rule changes, but a couple of big ones. So
I was reading an article today about there's a few things they're looking at. They're looking at the pitch clock, to keep the game moving, looking at the size of the bases. They're looking at the auto strike zone
shift.
Ban on the infield
shift. The one that I saw that personally I feel is stupid. I just want to mention this one first because it's pretty much just a one and done. Is the maximum depth for an outfielder to play. I'm sorry. That. Oh yeah, what they're contemplating is because apparently, if an outfielder can play further back, they actually have a better beat on the ball, and it reduces the amount of doubles and triples in the game.
Okay.
So they want to increase the amount of doubles and triples and only allow the outfielders to stand not to stand in a specific spot, but at the beginning of each pitch. There's a maximum depth they're allowed to go. So they can't play back in the warning track. It's such a stupid one.
It'll never happen because
it's such a stupid
defensive alignment's done.
Yeah. And
defensive alignment's done anyway. And it's besides, you want doubles and triples, just keep the ball the way it is. That's how baseball's doing it. Yeah. There's deadening the ball. That's how you're going to do it. The idea of having a certain depth that's just weird. That's not even a solution.
No, I saw that one and I'm just like, okay, that's stupid. I figured we'll throw that one out first, get it done, get it stomped on, get it out of the way.
So
the infield
here's
shift,
the interesting. Well, let's start with the clock first because I find this the one that could possibly that will probably actually happen next year.
Yes.
Now, what they have found is with the clock that the games are on average about 25 to 27 minutes faster.
Yeah, and
Games are averaging 2 hours and 35 minutes when the average major league game is a little over 3 hours.
yeah,
So we're getting back to like late 80s, early 90s kind of times.
hmm
So I'm for it because we all know the reasons why it got faster was because of commercials and many walks to the mound, all these different
well,
things.
the funny
You know,
thing is they said that on average up to pre-COVID, so 2019, between balls in play, there was an average of 4 minutes and 7 seconds. Like that's quite a
yeah,
long time. And their fix for that is 14 seconds for empty bases between each
yeah,
pitch,
yeah.
and 19 to 20
18 to
seconds. Yeah,
18 to 19, they said.
yeah,
Yeah,
for runners on, right?
yeah.
And it's weird because it also has the backing of a couple of GMs, and one of the reasons is it's less injuries. And like you would feel
Yeah.
that would be weirder because they're rushing the pitch, but that's because they're not making a big production out of every pitch, so it's not as powerful. So it actually
Mhm.
decreases the amount of strikeouts, decreases the amount of walks, but that means increases the amount of balls in play, so hits or force outs or pop ups.
Well, the other thing they've done now too is they remember they had the expanded rosters because of spring training, but now
Totally.
bringing it down.
Hmm.
But what they're changing is you can only have 13 pitchers. That's the maximum you can have once
Hmm.
they've set that roster limit, which is something they never set limits on before. And the other thing, which we mentioned last week, you only can get called up and down 5 times in one season
Hmm.
if
But
you've got
the
yeah.
but the less injuries
So
thing, I find that odd. But it's apparently something because they tested this in lower leagues, like up to double and triple. So I
well, I mean, you can think about look at the pitchers of the past, like Nolan Ryan. I was reading about this 13 inning complete game he threw. I can't remember if he I think he had like 19 strikeouts or something like that.
probably
He
yeah.
threw 235 pitches in that game.
Hmm.
How often did we ever see Nolan Ryan on the injured list?
No, yeah. I
Like I'm
mean,
sure he was at some point when we weren't born, but generally, like I
fire
think that says something. They're throwing too hard now.
firing
The issue
yeah, like
they're throwing
think of what like a pitcher back in the day, like not even back in the day, just a few years ago, Tim Lincecum. He was a hard thrower, but it was all like body mechanics and all slingshot, like, and that
and he blew his arm out.
blew his arm out, blew his body out, not even just his arm,
Yeah.
blew his
Well,
body out.
he was pretty skinny for what he was doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was like Gumby trying to throw baseballs. And
Hmm.
no, it just doesn't work. But I mean, I I understand the propensity to want to throw harder. I think what's happened, we've gone too far in one direction because we're all about power pitching, power hitting, right? That's what everybody wants and looks for. I had a guy today, and again, on one of these stupid fan forums, which gives me fodder for the rest of my life. Um, we were talking about Gab Moreno, and his OPS is 870. He's hitting over 400 so far. His arm is amazing, right?
Hmm.
And this guy's like, yeah, but he has no power. And I said, yeah, he's 22. He's still growing into himself.
He's
Still, he's
he's
still
he's
finding
learning he's
himself.
learning at a different rate of pitches that like
And even in AAA, he's right. Even in AAA, he wasn't hitting for doubles and triples and home runs. He was a singles kind of guy.
but a
That being
phenomenal
said,
average though, like
the power will come. He might not be. He might end up being 20 homer guy, maybe, but he'll get doubles and triples. But the
yeah.
thing is, his OBP is going to be there. His batting average is going to be there. You know what? When our guys are hitting home runs, I like to have people be on base once in a while
Yeah.
rather than being solo shots all the time.
Yeah.
Because all of our guys are power hitters, except for Tapia and Moreno now, maybe.
Mhm.
But everybody else is pretty much known as power guy.
Mhm.
And I think you can't just have power guy. We're like the Yankees, sure, they're power guy, but I guarantee you at least two of those main players are going to be injured for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. I mean, they'll replace them because they're the
Mhm.
Yankees. But, Stanton probably will go down. Josh Donaldson probably go down for a bit.
Mhm.
Like Gleyber Torres, maybe Aaron Hicks might be.
Yeah.
Joey Gallo can't hit anything, and he's still playing out
Playing,
there.
yeah.
Guy's hitting like 100, and he's not even catching the ball like he used to do. So I don't, like there's a lot of things that say like he's all power, great,
Mhm.
but Gallo's thing aside from the power was that he was an amazing defensive player, which he has taken a step back on
Yeah.
this year. And if you're not getting hits and you can only hit home runs, and you're not really doing that either, then you're just a waste. At least these days. Like what's wrong with having our 8 and 9 hitters being high on base percentage, low power guys, so that when we roll through the lineup, Springer comes up with a couple guys on, or Bichette can go up with a couple guys on. Like that makes sense to me. That's the way it should be. But to every person being a power threat, I just think it's too much. And with the pitchers, we're saying for our bullpen, we want swing and miss guys. We need swing and miss guys in our bullpen. Swing and miss guys in our. True, we do.
But you need someone that can control the way the game's
ball. Yeah. And like people were complaining about our bullpen usage this week too. Like, oh, Montoyo shouldn't have taken this guy out earlier. Blah, blah, blah. You know what? Montoyo, I think he's been doing a good job with the bullpen because going into the Yankees series, all of our high leverage arms were ready to go.
Yeah, except for
we're healthy, except Trevor Richards, which I found out has gone on the DL.
Yeah. But I mean, like you actually did do a little loop and then bring it back into, pitching and pitch timing, right? And also bring it in about, you don't have to power pitch, right? Like there was days in like the early 2000s in the mid, and the mid-teens and stuff like that when we had Halladay and we had one of my other faves, Burley. You know what? They were masters.
Escobar?
Yeah, but the thing is like
Chris Carpenter?
Carpenter, amazing. But they could control a game and they would pitch so fast. Like you got tickets to a Jays game, you better get there like on time because if you get there 10 minutes late, it's in the third inning, right? But these guys would force you to make contact because they figure you could hit a ball, but they're going to force you to do like a ground ball. I still marvel at the fact that Mark Burley pitched a game and it was a Jays record for speed. To be honest, I don't remember what it was, but in the post-game interview, he's like, I got time for like 5 questions. You were on fire out there. What was the problem? He's like, it's a Tim McGraw concert playing at the Budweiser station. I got to go. And he sped the game up because he was a country boy and wanted to go see a country artist play. But it doesn't have to be a bad game if the game goes fast.
The biggest thing is that it started being lessened now is the batter rituals going into the play. Like, have your batting ritual getting into the box, fine. Yeah. But you don't have to step out and readjust your wristbands and all that. Like there were some guys, they had that routine every time they stepped out. And that was the big problem for me. Most of our guys aren't like that. Our guys are pretty much in the box when they're in the box. But there are still guys out there who just take forever.
You know who was bad for that? And his name is also like, satanic. With him, but Ronald Odor, he would put one foot in, he would kick it like about 3 or 4 times, cut some dirt, he would juggle his jock for a bit, put the other one in, still have the back arm up, and then take that foot in, and then God, man, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't care.
And he's nothing. Like he's a nobody player who's causing all these issues. So, I mean, okay, so we only got 3 more minutes on this. So the other one that I thought was interesting, but I don't really know if it's something it's the one for bigger bases.
And I feel if you do bigger bases or bigger, like, do you do like just bigger second base or do you do bigger bases, all of it?
It's all of them.
All of them? Okay.
That's the thing. All of them would be bigger. Now, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I figured that if it's bigger just on you have a chance on the side to have that extra, because think about how many times a play comes down to like a glove swiping and it looks like there's fingers touch the base just as the glove swipe. So if maybe it's an inch longer on the side, that glove has to go that tiny second further. And if you can look at it, then you probably get an extra stolen base out of that.
But the reason they're doing it is to prevent injury. But that doesn't.
It's crazy because there's also a 61-year low for stolen bases, 0.06. Sorry, 0.6 per game. That's how many bases are stolen.
And it's funny, they talked on the broadcast at one point during the Yankee series that they were saying that Montoyo is always saying like, oh, we've got the guys to take the extra base and we're going to be in the forefront of trying to take that base. He doesn't though. No. Like Raimel Tapia
is the only one,
fast
really.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, Tapia can steal. Bo can steal. Although Bo's been caught as much as he's stolen almost.
Yeah.
But I mean, Teoscar can run.
Yeah.
He can steal the bases. Lourdes can. We have guys who
Lord
can. I think Moreno could be at
Lourdes
some point.
actually was pretty crafty last year. Like he wasn't our base stealing leader, but he actually stole some pretty key bases and
Yeah,
pretty key moments of games. And
he's got a good feel for
yeah,
sure when he's around the bases. I just wish he wasn't so streaky.
oh yeah,
We'll talk about that when we get into other things that we can do. But here's the last thing we want to talk about in this, just in this part. We can carry over to the next part, but is how do we replace Hyunjin Ryu?
yes,
Because he's officially Tommy John, which means it is a distinct possibility that he has pitched his last game for the Jays.
yeah, because
it's 12 to 18 months.
Tommy John is a year to a year and a half recovery.
Yeah.
And
So it was official because they weren't sure if he was going to get Tommy John. They thought it might just be the ulnar collateral ligament that they were going to have to fix.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be it is Tommy John. And with Ryu's stature and his body type, he's going to take a lot long. He's going to be more of the longer term ones than he's going to be the shorter term ones because he's not a fit dude. He just isn't.
What's crazy?
He's 250 pounds.
What's crazy about that though is like, I mean, when I first started watching baseball, you heard Tommy John surgery. That's it. Career was over. Like the Tommy John surgery was pretty much just to have a salvageable arm for the rest of your life kind of deal. But now it's 30% to 1/3 of pitchers in the major leagues have either had or are on Tommy John surgery right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy, and a lot of them are having it. A lot of them are having it like
young,
between 15 to 19. Yeah.
There's a lot of blown out arms in high school and in college. And I mean, who's the guy that we had that our draft pick from this year, from last year, our first overall pick, Gunnar Hoagland.
Gunnar Hoagland, yeah.
Right? But I mean, he had Tommy John. We were waiting for him to come back, and now we've traded him. But I mean, another example, the same thing, right? And sometimes they come back even better because it's a stronger ligament because you're wrapping it with another one.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there are guys like Jameson Taillon, who pitched on Saturday for the Yankees. He's had two Tommy John surgeries.
Twice, yeah.
And he beat testicular cancer.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. So, like this guy's.
I want to say shout out to Jameson Taillon because dude, two Tommy Johns, testicular cancer, and you shut out the Jays while you pitched today, and you're throwing an amazing season. Like I can't think of anything cooler than that. Like what a story for the
and sort of Canadian.
Sort of Canadian. Yeah. His parents are Canadian, but he was born in Texas.
Well, it's kind of like me having a British passport.
Can you imagine being born in Texas named Jameson Taillon? Well, hello, Texas. I am Jameson Taillon. I'm sure you got made fun. Okay, anyway,
so here's a question for you though. Okay, so Tommy John surgery used to be
before the question.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Commercial.
Oh, yeah, give me a sec. Hey Jeff, do you like helping the planet? And do you like looking good?
I'm helping the planet.
And do you like looking good helping the planet?
Well, I look good regardless, but yes, helping the planet look good is even better.
Well, there's this company called The Canadian Way. They are making ethically sourced fabric clothing and making you look good wearing it as well. Will you be seen wearing The Canadian Way?
I will definitely wear The Canadian Way because that is the Canadian way. It's weird getting used to commercial breaks on podcast radio because we're not exactly a podcast and we're not exactly radio. We're kind of a mashup between the two. We're actually more of radio than we are podcast.
As long as we're not broadcast, because
we have a definitive time we have to finish, right, Mark?
Okay, so
what was your question?
Here's your question. Okay, so back in the day, Tommy John surgery used to be, a career ender. Who was the first Tommy John recipient to be elected to the Hall of Fame? Pitcher.
Oh,
big pitcher, like massive pitcher during the 90s. Played predominantly for one team, and they had a stellar pitching bullpen.
So that would have been a Braves pitcher.
Ding. All right.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think which one of those three had Tommy John. Maddox didn't have Tommy John surgery. Smoltz had Tommy John surgery.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, and then that's why he became a closer for a while.
Yeah, got to tell him what he's
and
won.
then they put him back in the rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the only two guys that I can say that are amazing closers and starters. There's only two pitchers I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
One is Smoltz. Who's the other one?
Closer and starter.
Not older than Smoltz.
Oh no, Eckersley. He was a starter too.
Eckersley.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had like I think he had like 200 wins.
He was a starter in Baltimore before he became a closer. And
he had like 200 wins, and then he also had like his 200 plus saves. Like the only guy to ever do that, or him and Smoltz are the only guys to ever do that, I believe. Yeah. So anyway, I found that kind of interesting.
Well, so you'd mentioned Verlander and Tommy John, and I don't know if many people know this, but we actually almost signed him because his contract was up at the end of the year, and because his buddy, George Springer was telling him, come over here, you're gonna like it. He was seriously considering it, and then it was just
we were his number two.
Yeah,
New York he said New York was a step behind, I believe is what he's or a step back is how he put it.
Yeah,
but if Houston, he just decided he wanted to stay in Houston. But if it wasn't for that, he would be pitching for us. Yeah. And then you know what? If we had him, would we have Gausman?
Yeah,
we wouldn't. We wouldn't have Gausman. We'd have, and then we'd be, and Gausman, we got him for 5 years. There's no way we'd get Verlander for more than maybe 2 more years. We would have
I don't know. We would have Tyler Mahle from Cincinnati.
No,
I don't know.
No, that's the other thing I read. Because one thing we're also going to talk about is what we can get trade deadline wise. But Mahle, we can never have him. We can't get him.
What is the deal behind that? No.
Well, when Cincinnati came to Toronto, who was one of the players on the COVID-19 restricted list?
Oh, ding, 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 yeah. Well,
Mahle will never pitch here.
Yeah.
Because of our restrictions. I mean, okay, well, let's go into this. We're talking about deadlines.
By next year, that restriction will be gone.
Well, it's like, what do we need? What do we need at the deadline? That's kind of what this comes down to, right? So I'm going to ask you, if you could only pick one of these 3 things that we need, which is the most important? Another starter, bullpen help, or a good left-handed bat?
I don't think we need the bat because we don't have a problem hitting. We did yesterday, but we don't have a problem hitting. But I feel that we need another starter. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I actually like Stripling. A lot of people harp on him. He's one of our better pitchers this week, and everyone's like, "Oh,
I wouldn't go that far." But his first start was great. His start against New York was brutal.
Yeah, but
he was bad.
I still feel
that I agree. Don't get me wrong.
I feel he can still step in as the number 5, right? Because everyone's moving a step up.
But that puts Kikuchi at 4, and I don't try. Honestly, Stripling's our 4 because he's better than Kikuchi is right now.
But that's why I'm saying, like, there's an argument of essentially who's crappier, right? And so when you've got an argument about that, you've got an argument about that, then you definitely need another starter to fill that role. So I feel that we need another starter.
Stripling needs to be what Stripling is, and then what he was with the Dodgers.
Yeah, he was
long relief
and spot starter. Yeah,
and that's the way he likes it. Like, if you listen, I'm going to give a shout out to another podcast right here. So to this podcast, I'm giving a shout out to. We would love to be on your podcast if you hear this. Deep Left Field with Mike Wilner through the Toronto Star website. One of the things he's doing every week now is he has a segment with Ross Stripling every week.
Oh, cool.
And he's a really cool dude to talk to. Like, he's obviously knowledgeable what he does. Great talker, kind of funny, good personality. If you want to know a lot about Ross Stripling, listen to that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. We need starter. Okay. So who?
All right.
Who should we target?
Well, here's how what you have to look at. You have to look at sub 500 teams that have someone aging on their roster.
Yep.
That's
not necessarily aging.
Depends on where or aging on the roster, or within
like
a last year of a contract or something like that too, right?
No, rebuilding, because the pitcher I'm thinking of is still has arbitration eligibility, but he plays for a team that's going nowhere.
Okay, so let me guess.
Who do you think that would be?
You're talking the Angels?
Nope, not from the Angels. Right division though.
Okay, Seattle.
Nope. Right division.
Then Oakland. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Frankie Montas.
Well, yeah. Okay. Cool. Well,
Frankie
because
Montas. He's the only one who didn't get traded in the offseason.
Yeah.
They wanted to trade anyway.
and
We have a
Mineo
good
was
rapport with them, and
yeah.
we fleece them all the time. So let's fleece them again. Like, to get Montas is not going to take much. Like, we have some depth. We can give them Kloffenstein. We can give them Otto Lopez.
Yeah.
You know, we can give them. And here's the okay. So now people are going to get mad at me. So I'm going to say this again, as I said it last week. Kirk. And I'm talking about a guy who's top 10 in batting, in OPS, and in slugging, I think it was.
Yeah.
They showed it during the game on Saturday. He's top 10 in the league.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. But it goes down to this. Do we carry 3 catchers? No.
No.
We just don't. You can't. Like, if you want them to develop, like when Jansen comes back, he's going to be your primary catcher.
Yeah.
He is, because that's what he is. And then you have Kirk. Kirk cannot catch 5 or 6 games a week. He is physically incapable of it. Yeah. Like, if he had to catch regularly, his batting will suffer. I guarantee it. Until he gets his conditioning in order. This is all about his conditioning. I don't dispute his ability. I don't dispute that he's probably the best player we've had on the team this season, like consistency-wise. He's doing really great. But you know what? He's 5'6" and 245 pounds, and if he stays that way, his career is going to be gone. So yes, purge. Now, you think about it, you're selling on a guy like and that is why they brought Moreno up, because they wanted to see if he was ready to hit major league pitching. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. If people were wondering why and why Zach Collins was sent down immediately, that's why.
Well, so now Collins came up just for the bus ride. Like, everyone knew, like he's good enough to come up, but he's just coming up to fill a void. Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, they called him up one day and then Moreno the next day, which was weird to me. They could have just done Moreno, but whatever.
Yeah,
Moreno has proven that he has the arm, because he's 1.83 seconds from glove to glove at second base is astounding. But they say there's only one other catcher who throws faster than that in Major League Baseball. One guy.
Who's that?
I think it's Adley Rutschman.
Okay, because I feel that
Contreras, one of the
the fact that they had Collins one game and Moreno the next was literally just like a metric to see, like, okay, well, if this is what he looks like, and he has good stats in Buffalo, then let's see what the good stats in Buffalo look like.
Yeah, I just think they could have skipped that whole step, because what they did is they wasted a call up on Collins. So if something really bad happens, he's now been called up
once. Yeah, twice.
No, he's been up and down twice or 3 times. Twice. Yeah, you're right, twice. So he only has 3 left. So Moreno is now proving he's major league ready.
Yeah,
he is. It's you cannot dispute the fact that he's ready, right? So now if you take the two of them together, Kirk hits for more power right now for sure. Kirk has more experience in the majors, obviously, but he was in the same place Moreno was when he first came up too.
Yeah,
and Moreno's already doing better than Kirk did when he first came up.
Yeah. So
you take the guy who's more athletic, which means he's probably going to be less prone for injury, right? He's not huge. He's 5'9", so I mean it's not like 5'9", 5'10", so it's not like
it's a good catcher height.
And as a catcher, so you can still get that low strike call that Kirk has perfected. Because the other thing is pitch framing going forward, and this goes back to our rule changes kind of thing. Pitch framing is not going to mean as much going forward when they implement the balls and strikes. Pitch framing doesn't mean anything. Well, that's like, you can't frame something that's already going to get called anyway.
Diving into like looking at the rule changes, like I actually didn't know that they shortened the strike zone in '68 when they brought about the massive rule changes, like things like bringing back DH
here to like middle waist,
middle waist, yeah. And I mean, I knew there wasn't really an associated one or an official.
Well, they always said, I remember in the '80s they always used to say it was from the letters
to the knees,
to the knees, right? That was the letters, but I mean, They say you can't really tell pitches on TV because the box never changes depending on the size of the batter.
Yeah, and
that will change. That will obviously change because the technology will be able to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like right now, the only reason half of these things aren't in there now is because the technology is not perfected yet.
Yeah.
If the technology was perfected, I guarantee you that RoboUmps would be here. And it isn't even RoboUmps. It's an umpire is still back there.
Yeah.
He just has a headset telling him it's balls or strikes. He's still calling plays at the plate. He's still calling foul balls down the line, all that other stuff. He's still in charge of the game. He's just not calling balls and strikes. And he might even be helping, like the ball and strike calls might be only on the plate sides. It's not up and down.
Yeah.
It might just be this. Because the up and downs are not as bad. It's the side to sides that are really causing people issues.
Yeah.
Up and down, it can be, that's one thing because of the size of the player. It can change constantly, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're talking, plates that wide, so that's what it is. And that's the one that they're mainly concerned about is making sure they get those, outside, inside pitches.
And it's also fresh. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go.
I was just going to say, and I mean, watching on TV as opposed to watching in a game. You watch in a game and you see something, you're like, okay, I don't really depending on your line of sight, right? But I mean, you watch on a TV, you get to see that pitch in slow-mo, you get to see the little box, you saw that there's like a little bit on the outside, so you instantly now hate it, right? So
exactly.
If they've got the technology to do that, then they've got the technology to do it during.
But here's the thing: we all watched baseball when we were kids. And we didn't watch. I mean, in the '80s, we didn't watch much because you had like Wednesday and Saturday Blue Jay games
with
and
Fergie Oliver
Saturday day baseball.
CFTO, yeah,
Fergie Oliver, that creepy dude.
Yeah.
But I don't remember looking at pitches going like, "Oh my god, like he missed that by a mile."
No,
but I see it all the time now.
But
I don't know whether I'm looking for it more, but I see it like Guerrero. Like honestly, it screwed up Guerrero for weeks because he kept laying off these outside pitches and they kept calling it strikes. So he had to keep swinging for them anyway, which really took him out of his zone of what he was supposed to do. And it does that to players all the time. Like if you're not going to get the pitch where it's supposed to be, what do you think of as a batter? You don't know what the umpire is going to call because sometimes he called them balls, sometimes he called them strikes. But I don't know. Depending on how much gas is in his ass, I don't know.
In terms of not really bitching about it back in the day, like you have to think that the clarity of the view of that what we have on TV now. Like if you're watching a game in 4K, you can see individual blades of grass. But back in the day, it was standard definition.
It still wasn't that bad. I watched a lot of stuff in standard. I watched so many things in standard definition in my house because my brother, he VPRs or PVRs everything.
Yeah.
So whenever the J game is on, it's inevitable at some point it'll shut off because it can't record. It's recording too much stuff, and I have to go to standard definition to watch the rest of the game.
Although
I can still tell. It's not as bad as you think. But honestly, the umpiring was better.
I do regularly watch on something in standard definition. Like I actually have, and now here's something that's actually kind of cool because they reissued all of the old WKRP in Cincinnati, but because they didn't have the rights to the music they put on the original series, they had they have to really bad. What's the best way to say it? Really bad substitution songs. But I mean, I've got the old originals, and it's awesome. Mm-hmm. Like you actually hear Van Halen, but yeah, it's the crappiest quality ever because it's like standard definition but whatever, I don't care. I still watch it. But yeah, there's all right. We got ourselves a little commercial break coming up.
So actually, this commercial break, we are not going to push that amazing business called the Canadian Way. What I want to talk to you about this time for our next 45 seconds is the company that's letting us do this in the first place. 365sportscast.com. They have a plethora of podcasts on that you can find. Go on and check out their schedule. The number one show on there is a Stratomatic baseball show, which is absolutely fantastic. And they have guys from all over the place. They have so many different sports to deal with. It's not just us. We, of course, are the only Canadian ones because this is a New York City-based podcast system. But the gentleman who runs it, Mark Rosenman, is a well-respected author. He's written 8 books about baseball. He hosts drive time shows in New York. He has been around for 40 years in this business, and he knows what he's doing. So if you want to get involved with podcasting stuff that really means something, that you'll learn something from, 365sportscast.com. Woo! Yeah, we're back. Okay, so we have about 12 minutes left, I think, because I didn't start my timer on time.
10:06, by the way. 10:06.
10:06?
Exact, yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you saw around baseball this week that you thought was pretty cool or pretty weird or pretty strange?
Well, you know what's actually kind of cool about this? I've got a today in baseball history, but in terms of this week,
Yeah.
I mean, today in baseball history, this will actually come in pretty handy because there's a little Canadian action on this. So here we go.
That's cool.
Little spinny newspaper. I mean, from the audio portion, you're not seeing that, but it was, old school newspaper flying around. Okay, so from a Canadian perspective, on this day in baseball, which we were talking today, Sunday.
What year?
Okay, so we're gonna start on 1979. Okay, 1979. This day in baseball. The 19th. You've got 36,000 fans show up to witness the return of Billy Martin as the Yankees manager in his second stint as the manager. And in that first game, they lost to the Jays.
Did he get thrown out of the game?
No, he did not. Okay, here we go.
Surprised.
Let's go. A little Montreal action here. 1989. Doc Gooden wins 100th career game versus the Expos. 1990, he wasn't an Expo at the time, but he was one of the Expos' greatest players. Speaking of catchers, and speaking of arms,
Gary
Carter catches his 1,862nd game, beating Al Lopez's National League mark.
And I think Carlton Fisk has the Major
League mark, yeah. And then in 1994, the Tigers homer in their 25th straight game. Mickey Tettleton against the Jays. I know. Speaking of steroids,
such a weird batting stance that I've never seen a guy stand up more straight. Yeah, like it was a weird one. It's almost as weird as Garth Orge's, just complete opposite. Yeah, But 94, I guess it didn't really matter much because that was that was the death of the Montreal Expos. Was that?
No, but that was against us. No,
what I'm saying is, but the season of 1994, that was strike season.
That literally killed the franchise.
The Expos were by far the best team in baseball.
No one would have touched them.
And that's what killed it.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing that Manfred has also said this week. Manfred, we know, Rob Manfred, who is commissioner of baseball, has a lot of very vocal critics, shall we say. And I kind of agree with him on certain things. This one especially, because he's saying the same thing again this weekend that he's been saying for years. We need to fix the Oakland situation. We need to fix the Tampa Bay situation. Mm-hmm. We need stadiums. They keep saying it, but nothing ever gets done. Now, the Oakland Stadium, from what I understand, is a big pile of trash.
Yeah.
It's a horrible stadium that's in disrepair.
Specifically, a pile of trash. Like when there's excessive rains, the sewage overflows, and because it was a multi-purpose stadium originally, the sewage flows up into the dugout.
Oh God! They have a proposal to build a new stadium by the waterfront. Mm-hmm. Now, the issues they're having is municipal, statewide, federal. There's all the lands are owned by the different parts of government in different areas in this area. So you have to kind of negotiate with all of them. Apparently, the Oakland mayor has been pretty good. Manfred said she's been very proactive. And they want to make this as a thing to revitalize Oakland because Oakland's become kind of a crap hole, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. Okay, Tampa, I'm telling you right now, there should be no team in Tampa Bay.
No.
because Tampa
They are a
Bay
football
is.
town, and
It's not just
in
that.
the last 3 years, their hockey team has made 3 Stanley Cup Finals, but they still have to
Yeah,
actually sell tickets the day of the game.
yeah. But the other thing is, it's not like who want. I understand. I'm glad they have a dome stadium first of all, because if you had to
Mm-hmm.
play in the summer in Florida, you would die.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm glad Miami does that too, but Florida is very much a commuter type state.
Mm-hmm.
It's people come and go all the. It's a vacation state.
Well, Miami
Tampa
Miami
Bay.
has a larger population, but Tampa is mostly
Well,
snowbirds. Yeah.
Miami, I think Miami can hold on. I
Yeah.
think they could if they market it right and they get a good team on there. And they have,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Honestly, a lot of the players they have are pretty good. Jazz Chisholm's been killing
Oh
it.
yeah.
Their
I
pitching,
mean,
if they can get some more hitting behind their pitching.
Alcantara is probably one of the best pitchers in the league right now. And but
Yeah.
I mean, like
So
they've won 2 World Series in the past little while, so they're fine. They're
exactly. So the team needs to be taken out of Tampa.
Mhm.
I still, I'm sure I have a bias on this, but a lot of baseball people agree that the team should go back to Montreal.
Well,
And when you mention this, people in the States crap their pants.
yeah.
All the time because they're like Montreal. The one thing I hear is Montreal doesn't deserve it. They had it and they ruined it, which is not exactly true.
The strike
They
ruined
had
it.
crappy stadium with
Mhm.
crappy the turf.
Yeah.
If you want to call it
It's
that.
carpet
It
underneath
wasn't really
some
turf.
concrete
The
underneath.
stadium was
Yeah.
too big.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Loria came in and started to dismantle them pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Because he knew what he wanted to do, because he wanted to go and take them south.
Yeah.
He ended up becoming owner of Miami and all that.
And then,
he personally destroyed that entire team.
But he also
Montreal
destroyed Miami twice over after they won a World Series, then dismantled the team.
Exactly.
Start from
So Montreal has already tentatively agreed with I think all levels of government to have a 35,000 seat stadium in Montreal.
Mhm.
And they know where they're going to put it, and it's all ready to go pretty much if they're given like the go ahead to do it. Which is the size is fine. You don't need a huge stadium. Stadiums are actually getting kind of smaller these days. You're not getting like Toronto was pretty much the last bastion of a 50,000 seat stadium.
Well, the Yankees built the 57,000, and then but it's New York.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, I don't include the Dodgers or the Yankees
or the Yankees in that. Yeah.
And I would even include the Mets in that too as
Yeah.
well. They'll have big stadiums no matter what.
Yeah.
But you want to see more like a Baltimore kind of thing. Like Baltimore, really, I still to this day think it's one of the best stadiums, and they built that in '94.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was one of the first stadiums built after the Sky Dome, where they were like,
that's what
retro
happened.
is better.
No, the Sky Dome was built, and everyone said, "Oh, that roof is awesome. You can retract it, you can close it, whatever." And then they built Chicago's stadium, which was New Comiskey Park, and it was just like the most boring piece of crap. And then and then Baltimore's, they built that, and then like Camden Yards. Okay, so why don't we take the roof and the old style and make them together? So that's why you got the Bob. You got you got a ton of
I think Seattle's got one of the better ones.
Yeah, Houston.
Actually, and Texas did a really good one with theirs. Texas
the
was a great one that way too.
That's good.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's inevitable all stadiums will eventually have that. I do not understand why some places when they built a new stadium did not put one on, like Detroit or Minnesota. I don't understand.
The opening of Target Field, they had to delay a month's worth of games.
Yeah, like what? Like I just don't get it. So I think I believe Montreal will I assume they're going to have a roof as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's an inevitability.
Well,
so
one of the things it's the NFL, and it's obviously a different pile of money compared to Major League Baseball. But whenever a new stadium needs to be built, the NFL itself will kick in $250 million.
Yeah,
like that's a big.
That'll never happen.
That'll never happen.
They will rely on all these baseball parks now. Like Atlanta did this. I can't believe Atlanta rebuilt Fulton County Stadium so quickly after that. Like they had a brand new stadium. We've had two stadiums, and we still had one. Yeah. It was weird. But they do it because they're building them into complexes, shopping, restaurants, and all that. It's not just no longer just a ball field in the middle of nowhere.
Well,
it's now. It's supposed to be. It's all a revitalization tool.
Yeah,
that's how they get the governments to help them.
They've done it in the MLS as well, like Major League Soccer. Like some of the stadiums they've built in those areas, they've literally done it as like a whole combo. Like, all right, we've got 45 seconds left. Jeffy?
Oh, well,
All right.
next week we're going to talk on more stuff. This week, we are definitely working on our interview people. I'm still trying to get a hold of them. Keegan Matheson, we are in contact. It's a matter of finding a time when we can actually sit down and talk to him. So he's balls to the wall about it. He's happy about it. He really wants to help out. That's great. Thank anybody who's been watching so far. Spread the word about who we are, the 4040 Men.
Woohoo. All right. And guys, thanks again for listening, and we will
Thanks for tuning in.
we'll talk to you soon.